Welcome to Ronathan Plays and Probes, where I bring you tabletop gameplay, commentary with insights, analysis, and opinions. Without further ado, let's get into today's video! Alrighty, this past Saturday, October 17th, the Star Wars Destiny Continuing Committee, which is a fan committee that decided, hey, Star Wars FFG pulled the plug on Star Wars Destiny, so they decided, hey, we're just going to continue making cards. So they decided to hold a release party for their new Faltering Allegiances set that was all fan-made by them. They did rigorous play testing with them, and it was a 90-card set that could be printed and played at home. So congrats to them for continuing up with this print and play model, especially in these pandemic times. And along with that, for this tournament, they decided to introduce a new rotation, the ARH standard, or the Renewed Hope standard, which basically means that cards from Convergence, Allies of Necessity, Spark of Hope, Covert Missions, Transformations, and Faltering Allegiances were legal to play for this tournament. So just kind of like with the old Destiny blocks, just keeping at most 6 big boxes or 6 giant sets, along with the mini sets that were released in between going. So to help keep things balanced and fair, they decided to ban Fateful Companions for this tournament, along with having a new restricted list for the ARH, which I will link the new set below, and you can check out some of that stuff for yourself. This tournament had 104 entries, which was 6 40-minute Swiss rounds, best of 1, followed by a top 16 cut that would be best of 3 90-minute round matches. This was a great and free event where they gave playmats to the top 4 people, custom playmats to the top 4 people, altar cards for playing all the rounds. So at the end, you just filled out your address, and they're going to be sending out altar cards to you. So, I mean, congratulations and thank you once again to the Renewed Hope Committee for shelling out money from their pocket just to get people to play and get involved. So really appreciate your hard work, as well as raffling off 2 full-on printed play sets to 2 lucky people. So thanks again for putting on this fun tournament and for your time, as well as just sending out altar cards to people. That was really cool. So definitely appreciate that. As for me, I finished 21st. Not too bad. I went 4-2. I was a bit nervous because I hadn't played Destiny in about 4 months, and I made a team about an hour before it was due. And then I had internet issues as to where, oh, my power went out. And so I had to type in hey, I have to drop out of the tournament. And then it came back on. I was like, hey, can I come back in? So it was just a crazy Saturday morning. But I decided to run my old Anakin K2SO team. And to see how that would fare. I really love that power action that K2SO has, where you can just re-roll one of your dice, and then you can choose how many dice to re-roll based on the number that comes up. So along with playing my little Admiral Anakin reset. So and I'd see how it would fare with some of the new cards, since I had to rotate some of the old cards out. Let's see how it would do. And yeah, it was not too bad. I mean, honestly, I would have finished 3-3 if it weren't for a god roll that I had, but I'll take 4-2. It was fun and it was great. So also as well too, I have the top 16 matchups right here. People who made the top 16 cut, as well as the top 8, followed by the 4 and then 2, and then on to our winner, Vika. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that, saying that incorrectly, but he won with his winning Vader and Terran team. So Terran from the new set, who has a great ability that if no shields are sown, you can pay 1 and deal 2 damage to a character. So pretty strong to get that activation going. But let's go on as to why I made this video. And I made this video because I wanted to do a statistical breakdown of all the cards that are used in the top 34 teams. Sorry I couldn't include all 104 teams. That's just a lot of data to sift through. I mean, yes, I like sifting through data. I mean, I am a fantasy football junkie, as well as I'm a behavioral therapist, and so my job is just to kind of look, sort through, and take data. So data just kind of comes naturally to me. But I decided just to take only the teams that did 4-2 and better, which was the top 34. and just see some of the cards that were used. Please note that the cards that are on here, it's not how many times the card appeared. It's just basically, did the card appeared on the team? It's just a yes or a no. So I wanted to see like how that would look going forward, as opposed to the number of times you would see a card, or whether the character was a lead or not. So it's just basically, hey, yes or no, did this card appeared on a team? That's it. No matter if it was once or twice, or if you're going to do order 66 and you have to include 6 times with that. So none of that. So it's just basically, hey, once or nothing. So if you like seeing the data that way, let me know in the comments below. If you like seeing data another way, let me know as well. I'm trying to figure out how to sort and take data for this game, just because, hey, this is just for my own general purposes. This is usually like kind of my learning tool, just see like, oh, hey, what's out there, what I compare with. So as much as it can be for the community, it's also for myself. So please let me know how you feel about the way that you like to see data taken. Alrighty, so let's go over some of the data that I have right now. Going over our battlefields, we have Night Sister Lair and Salt Flats taking the top 2 spots. Definitely, if you're going to be, we had a lot of like heavy bounty teams, which you're going to see later on. So you're definitely going to be running that Night Sister Lair, just to gain that resource back every time that you play a bounty each round. As well as we had Salt Flat. So it's just interesting. I didn't do the statistical breakdown of whether a team had a leader or a bounty hunter, but definitely if you're running Salt Flats, you have a leader. So it's just interesting to see with this new rotation out, like just the card pool of Battlefield shrinking and what people decided to narrow it down to. I went with Salt Flats myself personally for Anakin. As well as we had the Fighting Pit, which this definitely paired well with the new Saw Gerrera. Alrighty, let's go on to plots. Plots over here. So the top 34 teams, I decided just to do a percentage of the teams that ran it. And so we had 24 out of the 34 teams that ran a plot. So 70% of the teams had a plot, in which the top one here is United from the Transformation set. So United/United We Stand. I didn't do that statistical breakdown, but that's the plot that we had going here, and that's really a lot. You can just see how powerful that plot actually is. Followed by Closing In from the Transformation set, and then squeaking by here in at third, we had the Extremist campaign. I keep saying Extremist like I'm thinking of what is it, Iron Man 3. The campaign over here, and so we had 3 from there, and I think those were used with the Trandoshan Hunters. So if we look at the character list, going into the characters now, we're going to see right here that number 1, we have Balatik from the new set, so which has that interesting new detect mechanic. And I really actually like this detect mechanic. Just another way of just gaining hand knowledge from your opponent, I think is very important, and it's just some of the shenanigans you can do, pairing him up with some spies, which is that I faced during my first round. Along with that, and we can just see how really dominant right now, whether you're running hero or villain, that yellow villain and yellow hero is pretty dominant right now. At least with yellow villain right now, you have the variety. Are you going to go with Boba Jango? Are you going to go with Forlom, along with Grievous and the Sentinel Messenger, which that still is pretty viable, along with a new character Bing and Balatik. Well, I don't think Balatik is a bounty hunter, but bounty hunting is definitely still super popular, especially when you got cards like Dead or Alive with, hey, character activates, you get a money. So just the right timing on that. That's just something where just to keep generating your ramp, which is why I think yellow villain is pretty dominant, but it's interesting to see that, hey, blue villain actually won it. Also here we see that in the meta I don't know if this is the meta, but it just dominant in this tournament was the new Saw Gerrera paired up with the new Chief Chirpa with an Ewok Warrior. And we also had that where somebody paired it up with, the Hoth Trooper instead, so they can get some red cards out. There we go, the red cards. So we get some of the red cards out along with, I think, target acquired on there. So we can see that, hey, kind of if you're playing hero, yellow is still pretty dominant, but it was nice to see a couple of Cassian Jin teams just to see that new pairing up, as well as myself. I decided to run blue-red hero with Anakin and K2SO. So even though I usually normally run villains, just for some reason I decided, hey, let's run a hero and let's see how it goes. Alrighty, on to the downgrades. No surprise here. Dead or Alive, #1, followed by Wanted. I mean, this is pretty just self-explanatory right here. It was interesting to see Wounded, so team in the top 34 used Wounded, as well as Pestering. And then we have this new one, Tailed, which also has the Intel subtype. There we go. Has the Intel subtype. So it's just interesting to see that the new Tailed one got a little bit of play in the top 34. Alrighty, let's go on to upgrades. So yellow is going to be dominant. What do we think is going to be at the top here? No surprise, it's going to be Pulse Cannon. The interesting thing on here is actually this new Vibro Sword, which is kind of being labeled the new Dark Saber. So which, hey, you get a discount if you put it on a yellow character. Hey, if that character is unique, you get to increase it by 1. Hey, if that character is elite, you get to increase it by 1 as well too. So really, I mean, this is just, if you're going to be running yellow villain, you're going to definitely be running the Vibro Sword. And it is interesting to see this new upgrade here, this Kyozo Pitar, which I hope I'm saying it correctly. Maybe I've been away from Star Wars too long. Which if you have it on a yellow character, you can resolve it as if it did not have a modifier. So basically, hey, it's got a couple of 2 sides and a 3 side for a 2 cost. That's pretty beefy. So you can see why these yellow teams were definitely running it. As well as interesting to see Mandalorian Jetpack creep up on here. I don't know if it's for that reroll ability as well as to deal damage, especially if you got that Saw Gerrera team. I imagine that they were running that as well too. But let's go on and as well too for the teams that were running blue teams, Neiman Mastery and Xian Mastery are the tops. And for all the hero teams, we had 6 Yoda lightsabers, including my team as well. Anakin's lightsaber is still popular, so we definitely see like, hey, here are the general things if you're running basically yellow villain, and if you're running blue heroes or villains, you're going to see these Neiman and Xian Masters because they are just pretty dominant in the field right now. Alrighty, on to supports. Merchant Freighter, I mean, being able to pay 1 and to be able to get 3 resources over the next 3 rounds is going to be pretty huge. So this is why Merchant Freighter continues to be at the top, followed by Conscript Squad. Hey, 1 just to roll out whenever you have a leader. So this pairs out with Assault Flats very nicely. So yeah. So usually just for me, I just like to see like, hey, what's the statistic out there? What are people using? What am I forgetting? So, which kind of looking at the upgrades, we can kind of see it's just really like we're very upgrade heavy in this meta right now. I don't know if it's this meta again. Sorry, I apologize if I'm calling that. So as of this tournament right now, we were more upgrade heavy versus supports, which I think with all the rotations out of Hailfire Droid with the Planetary Bombardment and other cards that were kind of like supporting that, those Wat Tambor Jabba teams as well too. We're less heavy on supports this one, which Fickle is still appeared on 4 teams of the top 34. So let's go on to events. Since we're running yellow characters, no surprise here. Guess what? Electroshock at the top, followed by Near Miss. And it's interesting to see that Near Miss is popping up because it's basically, hey, if you're running basically like a yellow combo team, you're going to be running like double bounty hunters. So this is where Near Miss comes out. So we can just definitely see that, hey, the top 3 are basically removals, especially on, these are all related to like, hey, if you have a bounty hunter team, you're running Electroshock, you're running Near Miss, you're running Prey Upon, as well as Desperate Measures. Interesting to see Desperate Measures. I always feel like, hey, at least they put Desperate Measures on the restricted list. I didn't know if they wanted to, if this needs further adjustment, like as to where like, hey, pay 1 for each yellow character that you have in play still or something, if this needed further eroded. I don't know about that, but at least it's on the restricted list, so we can talk about we talk about how to go forward from there. Followed by, we got fluid riposte. So definitely if you're running a blue hero or a blue villain team, you're definitely going to run fluid riposte. And of course you're thinking, man, if I can get that Xian mastery out and run that fluid riposte, and then now not only take a die away but deal damage, that's going to be pretty huge. So those are just some of the statistics that were just out there that I decided just to put together just to see like, hey, this is what was popular on there amongst the top 34. So by all means, how you prefer to see data, please let me know below. Just giving it a try out. This is what I do for my other game that I play, Dice Masters. So however I can help out the community and sort this out for you, just let me know. Finally, it was nice that all 6 rounds I faced 6 different teams. I think that's what I was looking for out of this tournament. Like, ooh, hey, I wanted to see what some of the new pairings are. I only got to see one new team essentially, which was, I think, in my first round I played against Balatik, and the person had spies and spies, so I really got to see kind of like their detect shenanigans go off, which that was fun to play. And it was a nail biter, which it came down to the end, which is basically who did more damage, and luckily I squeaked it out by doing like 2 more damage to them. So I faced 5 villains and 1 hero, and the other villains that I faced against, I faced Phasma, Stormtrooper, in which somebody used that new Camino cloning facility because they had all the red dice in the world, so they were able to get out for 2 resources. They were able to get out an Imperial Death Trooper, so that was interesting, just to try to like take all 3 of their characters down with that. As well as I faced Forlom, Grievous and Sentinel Messenger, faced Palp and Watto, and then, oh my gosh, how am I forgetting this last one? Yeah, and then I also faced, the only hero that I faced was R2, C-3PO, and Grease, and that was piloted by Honestly Sarcastic from the Hyperloops, who brought the new Grease character in with the droid, since Chopper is now on their circulus and C-3PO is there, so they can't be run together. And it was interesting just watching him play, and it was basically like, hey, you know, like he played it in the hopes that it would just get banned, because pairing it with Grease now with this new character, which is kind of like the new Talzin, which is kind of insane. It's basically like, hey, he gets his dice out, does his damage, and then also too, since he loads up his deck with basically a bunch of 1 costs, he can just turn it and then just pump out once he activates Grease, just to get him to the sides of his choice. But personally, realistically, I think maybe R2 is adjustment. I don't know if I necessarily want to see both of those get banned. I definitely think R2 needs a bump up in points, so maybe he just needs to be a 9-12 in the future, because I like to see R2 and 3PO continue to be paired up, unless if we wanted to errata it further. I don't know what the solution is, but maybe Grease needs a bump up in points as well too, just to be able to Talzin 2 dice instead of just 1, which is just your own. And luckily with Talzin, you can actually do your opponents if you chose your opponent's deck. But to be able to do 2 of your own dice is pretty strong. I don't know if more play testing needs to be done with that card. Well, I don't know necessarily play testing, but we'll see how it fares in future tournaments. But I think it you know, just the concept of what Honestly Sarcastic brought up just reminds me back of to where, like, okay, some of the adjustments that the original balance of the force with points. So when Destiny was facing a problem in the early days, it had the balance of the force. Then it came up with the restricted list. Well, maybe there now needs to be another rule adjustment that will allow a little bit more back and forth with the game, so that way we can get a cleaner first round going, and maybe not necessarily like first round spikes. And so that just kind of got me thinking, basically like, hey, Honestly Sarcastic won the battlefield. I mean, if I had R2 in them, I would just basically run it the same way too. Oh, I'm just going to off the sensors or instigate, and then turn my dice to disrupt, and then basically just disrupt your resources to start. Or you could do the same thing too with discards. And so this got me thinking that, hey, maybe there just needs to allow like a setup. And I felt that there's 2 other games that actually allowed this setup. One being Dice Masters, where start of the game you get to roll 4 dice. Each time you're just rolling 4 dice unless you figure out a way to roll more with ramp. But for the start of the game, they figured out that turn 1 had a huge advantage. So what they decided to do is they just decided to say, hey, instead of rolling 4 dice for turn 1, you can only roll 3, and as well as you can attack. So that was their little adjustment that they decided to make. Transformers TCG had a first round and second round rule as well too, which is basically, hey, first round you can't play the first player, they can't play a card. They can only tap or untap an ability or flip a card like that. So you can't play a card. And then for the second one, you can either play an upgrade or an action. You can't play both. And so maybe I feel that maybe that would be the way for Destiny to go forward as well too, as to where maybe on turn 1, player 1 would not be able to negatively impact your opponent. So basically no discarding, no resource disrupt, or no dealing damage for that type of thing. The only exception would maybe be a plot or a static character ability that has nothing to do with activating the character on the first turn that could do that, as well as maybe no action cheating on the first round. And the other thing too is that, hey, if player 1 can't deal damage to start, maybe the only restriction for player 2 is that they can't deal damage on their first turn as well too. So, I mean, these are just thoughts on just like ways to improve a little bit more of the back and forth, as well as like allowing both opponents just to set up their board state. You just get one turn to do that, and then you can go forth and do what you want from there. So these are just thoughts and ideas. We'll see as the game keeps going forward. I really like how the game has evolved and it started with the balance of the force, followed by a restricted list. As we continue to see this continuing committee to make improvements on this game, we'll see where it goes in the future. And I'm just happy that I got to play in this tournament this past weekend. So thanks for watching and have a great day. Take care. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.